This is a Tracking the Tropics update with the certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.
Hello everyone, we have the 5 o'clock advisory on Hurricane Milton, and not too much has changed for the First Coast specifically when it comes to our impacts. However, some changes here with Milton. Winds now at 180 miles an hour. Milton is still strengthening, unfortunately, and it is expected to continue to strengthen to winds of 185. I'll show you that cone next. But another thing I want to mention, moving a little tiny bit faster to the east at 10 miles an hour, and the pressure is still dropping now at 905. So a monster of a storm, but it's small in size, so it's a ferocious, just absolutely devastating storm over water for the most part right now. We are watching out for Mexico as it brushes past, but you can see by 2 a.m. expected to have winds of 185. Then it's going to start to weaken. So that's good news in terms of wind for wherever this storm makes landfall. But it's not all good news, because as it weakens, the storm itself, the hurricane, will actually grow in size. And so that means more people across Florida will feel impacts from Milton. So zooming in, it's still expected to make landfall as a Category 3 hurricane, a major hurricane. Winds of 125 miles an hour, sustained, gusts even stronger than that. And it will move across the state as a hurricane. So wherever the center is going over, those are hurricane impacts inland for the center of the state too. The center of the cone still focusing on the Tampa Bay area, but you can see that the cone is very wide, and that's because models still aren't totally agreeing on exactly where this hurricane will make landfall. Some of the models on the north side of the Tampa Bay area, some of them further south, a little bit closer. Luckily now they're to the north of Fort Myers. It's lucky for those who are still trying to recover from Ian, but the bad news is somewhere within, say, the general Tampa Bay area, maybe a little to the north, maybe a little to the south, they will see a major hurricane likely making landfall here late Wednesday into early Thursday. So what about the First Coast? Let's go county by county and break down these impacts. The worst of this storm is going to be Wednesday night into Thursday morning. We think the most dangerous time period for the First Coast as of right now, 10 p.m. Wednesday to 10 a.m. Thursday morning. That could change if this system continues to kind of slow down or change its track. So please continue to check in for updates on that. But really, it's going to be overnight Wednesday night into Thursday morning. For Putnam, we have winds sustained of 60 miles an hour, gusts up to 75 miles an hour. Rainfall anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of rain and a surge of 2 to 4 feet. We could potentially see flooding along the St. Johns River, flooding that goes into homes and businesses. So of course you would have to evacuate if there is storm surge, because we always say run from the water, hide from the wind. If you are not in a flood zone or a flood prone area, then you need to stay indoors and hunker down and hide from the wind, the gusts perhaps of 75 plus miles an hour. Mobile homes are not safe in winds that strong. For the St. Johns County places like St. Augustine, we're going to see a surge of 3 to 5 feet. Winds sustained of 60 miles an hour, gusts stronger than that, 75 plus miles an hour possible, and rainfall of 7 to 15 inches. St. Augustine could be one of our hardest hit places when you combine that much rainfall with the highest end surge. A surge of 4 feet, rainfall totals of around 12 inches. If it reaches that, would create water or would make water move into homes and businesses. So stay indoors, but watch for flooding. Again, if you are at risk of storm surge, you want to run from that. You want to get inland and away from that water. For Duval and Clay, surge of 2 to 4 feet possible, rainfall of 6 to 12 inches, gusts of 65 miles an hour or stronger. Now, again, right along the river, if you get that surge of 4 feet and you get rainfall totals, say around 12 inches of rain, then you would also have some flooding into homes and businesses. So we will watch out for that so closely. For those of you in places like Nassau, Glynn, and Camden counties, a surge of 1 to 2 feet possible, rainfall 2 to 6 inches, gust of 55 miles an hour or stronger. So have your storm plan in place, be prepared for some power outages. For those of you in Columbia, Baker, Bradford, and Union counties, rainfall 1 to 3 inches, gusts of 50 miles an hour or stronger. So We have a lot of trees that are weakened from Helene. These trees would topple if you get those gusts of over 50 miles an hour, most likely. If there's any power lines or power poles that are barely hanging on, any sort of structures that are weakened, make sure that you are securing them right now if possible. If it's to your home, secure those structures because we could get those gusts over 50 and that would likely create the large limb to fall, stuff like that. So we'll closely watch out for you guys inland, though you have less impacts than those closer to the coast and to the southeastern areas of the First Coast. For places like Ware, Charlton, Brantley, and Pierce counties, rainfall, maybe an inch of rain, gusts, maybe up to 35 miles an hour. So you are the least impacted from this storm, but we know that you are still struggling and recovering from Helene, unfortunately. So same story if you have any big limbs that look like they're about to fall because it was damaged in Helene, try to either get the limb down, secure it, anything like that, because we could see gusts up to 35, which in a regular situation, it's not that big of a deal, but we know that structures and other things are weakened because of Helene. So we just want to make sure everyone's prepared for some gustier conditions and hopefully no more power outages, but that's what we'll be watching for. So just to put it on a map, the winds that we're concerned about, 40-mile-per-hour winds up and down the coast, and that means that bridges could close. Then at 60 miles an hour, sustained winds, you get damage. Trees are down, power is out, and that's possible for everyone in the orange shaded region here. So that's from places like St. Augustine to Palatka and points south. Now, sustained winds of 75 miles an hour, hurricane force winds, we do expect that to stay out of the First Coast. We're keeping that to the south. Now, gusts, though, could be at 80 miles an hour for some of you from St. Augustine to Palatka. So again, trees are down, power is out, and then gusts of 60 miles an hour, which could knock down some trees, possible all across places from, say, Duval County and downtown area down towards Keystone Heights and a little closer to the Gainesville area. The arrival time of winds of just tropical storm force winds, that would be, this is a graphic that you're looking at now from the National Hurricane Center, and they're saying those winds could arrive by Wednesday 8 p.m. across the center of the state. So now the National Hurricane Center is saying those tropical storm force winds likely to arrive after 8 p.m. And that is why here at First Coast News, we are saying we think the most dangerous time when it comes to that wind, 10 p.m. until 10 a.m. 10 p.m. Wednesday night until 10 a.m. Thursday morning. Rainfall totals. Again, this is just another map to show you what we talked about in the county by county breakdown, but across portions of southeast Georgia, really just about an inch of rain. It ticks up to about 4 inches of rain across portions of Duval and Nassau counties, and then it does extend kind of along 301. But as you get closer to places like Green Cove Springs and Palatka, and then up through the Ponte Vedra area, you could get up to 8 inches of rain, and worst case scenario, 15 inches of rain possible for places like St. Augustine down across Flagler County. Storm surge, just showing you all across the state first. You can see how there's going to be a lot of surge for places like Fort Myers and Naples, places that really struggled with that storm surge from Ian. It was just awful and tragic. So again, if you have any friends in these areas that I'm about to show you, make sure that they are evacuating if they are in an evacuation zone, running from the water. Bad storm surge expected along the Gulf Coast of Florida. The Tampa Bay area, same story. Some places could get over 9 feet of storm surge. And places like St. Pete, and I saw stuff out of Bayshore Boulevard, all those areas in the Tampa Bay area just got slammed by Helene surge. And unfortunately, more surge expected for them. And then farther up the coast too, where we have places like Steinhatchee, a little bit of surge expected there, but notice as the closer to Tampa you go, the farther south you go, Spring Hill area, up to 9 feet of surge possible. It really all just depends where that hurricane makes landfall. They're creating a little bit of surge. You can see 1 to 3 to 4 feet for the Kennedy Space Center area, the Space Coast, Titusville. But then as we move north into the First Coast, let's break it down section by section. So for those of you for coastal areas of Georgia, southeast Georgia, we could have a surge. Mainly we're thinking 1 to 2 feet, but 3 feet is possible. And that is what the National Hurricane Center is saying. All that yellow there, you get 3 feet of surge. Farther south, we'll have to watch it for places like the St. Johns River, and of course our beach communities and the Intercoastal Waterway, Duval points south. 4 foot of surge and 12 inches of rainfall, as we talked about, means waters could be inside homes and businesses. So we are watching for that surge that potentially could be 3 to 4 feet for places like the St. Johns River, the Intercoastal Waterway, and our estuaries. Again, this continues all the way down towards portions of Putnam County, Crescent City area, Palatka. We will be watching out for that surge possibility. So surge, generally speaking, we're going to say 3 to 5 feet. Gusts of 75 miles an hour for coastal areas. Winds out of the northeast sustained around 50 miles an hour. So again, here's a look at the cone. One last look of Milton, 5 p.m. advisory. A incredibly strong, incredibly dangerous Category 5 hurricane right now, expected to strengthen even a little bit more overnight tonight, and then it will start to drop back in its wind speeds, but it will grow in size and likely still make landfall as a major Category 3 hurricane. Do we have any questions?
I know you had a wind speed graphic up there at one point. Someone asked what type of winds will North Jacksonville experience and the time frame.
So I'm just going to flip back. This is my clicker, so let's go back to those wind speeds. Oh no, did it freeze on me? There we go, forward. Okay, so for everyone, again, having a question about the winds, depending on when you tuned into this, we are expecting across Duval County mainly winds of 40 miles an hour, and that would start as early as 10 p.m. Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Wednesday night until about 10 a.m. Thursday morning. And with that, we could get some weakened trees, weakened structures down. We will also really watch out for bridges potentially closing. It is possible if we get to those sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, we could have some of those bridges start to close.
What about Waycross, Georgia? Julie says they're still getting over Helene.
Right, so I wish I had an easier way to get back to this graphic, but as you can see on this one here, you are not in that dangerous wind. We're thinking you're only going to get gusts in Waycross of about 35 miles an hour. So as I said before, it wouldn't be a problem on a normal day, but we know the situation is not normal in Waycross right now. So if there are big tree limbs that look like they're about to fall, structures that are damaged, you want to make sure those are secure because of gusts of 35 miles an hour. But all things considered, it wouldn't be bad on a normal day because your rainfall totals max an inch of rain and gusts max 35 miles an hour. Waycross, Georgia will be impacted the least, we think, from this hurricane.
And I see someone asking about the west side of Putnam County. Can you see that too on that graphic?
Yes. Oh, just asking generally about it?
West side of Putnam County.
So we're thinking winds, you could get some stronger gusts. Let me actually move this to the gusts. So we think you could get some gusts over 60 miles an hour, maybe 70 miles an hour. You're really on that threshold of close to 80, depending on exactly where this hurricane is going to track and where it makes landfall. So for the west side of Putnam, you need to just be prepared for power outages. We do expect power poles to go down, power lines, trees to fall. Also for everyone who is at risk of this stronger wind, I know we say stay inside, but just take a look around. Do you have trees hanging over your house? Are you at risk of that tree falling on your house? Try to stay in a portion of your house that would be safest from falling trees. But for western Putnam, it's really going to be the wind that we're going to watch out for. Be prepared for some power outages. So right now, be charging your devices, keep them charged up until Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening when conditions deteriorate, and also make sure you have water on hand, medicine stocked up, non-perishable food items, batteries, all of that stuff.
And I see a comment on YouTube. How do we find out if bridges are scheduled to close? I will answer this one, firstcoastnews.com. If you're in our area, we will provide the bridge closure updates. Back to the Facebook question, and I actually may be wondering this myself. How in the world did it jump from a 2 to a 5 in such a short span of time? Make it make sense, please, says Stephanie.
I agree. But I will be honest, it blew my mind when I went to bed last night with it a Cat 1 and I woke up and it was a major hurricane We did expect it to get to a Cat 3 later today, not this Category 5. It's warm waters. Our Gulf waters are so extremely warm, and warm water is fuel for hurricanes. So it's like the hurricane just went to an all-you-can-eat buffet and ate everything it could, fueled itself up, and just rapidly exploded and intensified. It is now, I believe, a top 3 hurricane for the fastest intensification that we have ever seen on record. Don't exactly quote me on that. I believe I saw that, though, earlier from some scientists I follow. And either way, whether it's within the recent history, so in the 60s and beyond, or ever, just know that it is definitely going to go down in history as one of the fastest intensifying hurricanes that we've ever seen. I'll try to pull up these stats too, but yes, please keep the questions coming.
A lot of comments thanking us for doing county by county impacts, and still people are asking, like, what about Jacksonville? If you are just tuning in, go back to the beginning of this video, and Lee breaks down every county.
And we also have that web story up
we
too.
Do,
so
on firstcoastnews.com.
Yeah, on firstcoastnews.com you will see the web story that says county by county. So absolutely head there and you'll see the impacts. I could go through it one more time if you want me to. We're just gonna. Okay, yeah, because we are also in a newscast right now. I know that Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan probably just mentioned it again at 5:30, and then we're going to do it again at 6 p.m. too on the newscast. Any other questions, or should we wrap up here and get ready for the 6 p.m.? Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're doing this each and every advisory, so we will be back at 8 p.m. with another update on Milton. Y'all stay safe and stay prepared.